Ayubowan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum. The Vice Chancellor of General Surgeon Kotelawala Defense University, Major General Milinda Peris, the chief guest today, my Honorable Minister, Minister of Education, Honorable Professor C.L. Peris, Deputy Vice Chancellors, Deans of the faculties, heads of the departments, the Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Professor Admiral Janath Columbage, all the foreign participants who are joining this 13th International Research Conference at KDU, all the presenters, moderators, session chairs, and all the distinguished invitees. Thank you very much for inviting me to deliver the keynote speech under the theme, Holistic Approach to National Growth and Security. I am indeed honored and privileged to be here, having witnessed the very first one 13 years ago, and it happens to be General Milinda Peris, who was then also a Major General, who was witnessing, and the presence of the chief guest as the Minister of Higher Education and Minister of Research and Technology. I would like to start with this quote from the chief guest. We do not want to have a reservoir of angry, uncontented people. I, for one, having gone through in 1971, of course not in the country in 88, 89, and then 83 as a university student, and many times during my academic career where there were disruptions to education, holding back the desire to fulfill or acquire knowledge with my colleagues, peers, and rest of the people due to the lack of security. I know how I felt then as a student. I think it was in grade 4, April the 5th in 1971. And then in 1983, in my second year, at this very same premises, that the education of ours was disrupted, and the feeling of that delays due to the lack of security. And the chief guest elaborated in deep sense of comprehension how security is important for the national growth. If I look at what is this traditional approach that is often based on defensive security policies, as we had during my time at different ages, we had always defensive security policies. However, the possession of strong security measures generates an insecure feeling. I hope you agree with me. If there is a strong security measures, that generates insecure feeling. as it reveals the presence of threats. So these are some of the things that people quote. Then again, the democracy, well-being, and freedom, they are some of the elements that we feel that we reduce this feeling of or reduction of insecurity by reducing both threats and the activities that we feel. And then we have this sense of insecurity. Even if you take a house, if you feel this insecureness due to lack of security, this mind will not allow you to think, generate analytical skills. You are always worried about the security, how to provide security for your children, security for yourselves. And then it hinders and it slows down entire process of nurturing, acquiring knowledge, and then that is halting the growth. So if you start from the small households or individuals, then if you take as a whole a family, a village, a township, and then provinces, as a country, it basically retards the national growth. So therefore, we need to have this thinking of holistic approach to national growth. And as you and I understand, there are necessary and essential conditions when we learn mathematics for certain things. The chief guest emphasized repeatedly the essential elements, and in our academic mathematics, there are sufficient and necessary conditions or essential conditions for proofs in mathematical theories. There are certain things. Likewise, it is essential security for national growth. When it comes to the economic, always and even for decades, the GDP strongly criticized the measure of development. Still, the rules of economic systems, neglecting the global goal of capabilities and expansion, halts this economic growth or a national growth. But the conception of development based on the glorification of individual success and the pushed capital accumulation hardly allows reducing insecurity and increasing freedom. So security becomes an individual good and relies upon ineffective defensive policies that we have practiced in the past, unlike in the present. So development, well-being, security and freedom are strictly interrelated. Individual capabilities imply collective capabilities. Even in free market economies, often the human needs such as food, housing, employment, healthcare, family policies, fresh water, security, and safety can be put in a market under regulation or collective governance. And those things, even the chief guest highlighted, the need for water, need for food, how the security, food security and the water security ensured the getting this national security. When you combine all these types of securities for the national growth under the war conditions. So these goods are often under political debate as they are critical for development and social cohesion. The more they are shared among the large parts of the population, the less we experience social conflict, political instability. Security hardly is achievable individually. It is the result of more holistic thinking. Individual security and freedom implies the security and freedom of all. As I mentioned before, these are interrelated. And if you look at, or if you study research, and in future research, all these studies can help in understanding human capabilities and pathways towards collective security and enhanced development. So instances of participation in the definition of security needs would make citizens able to feel at center of development goals. So therefore, unlike in the past where we did not think holistically and the interrelations between the security and the national growth, then we will fail. Even the theories in the literature highlights this one. As far as Sri Lanka is concerned, the contemporary security concerns that we face as an Indian Ocean country are broader and more complex, that need not be elaborated, than at any stage in our history. This will continue to exist. We can't say that this will stop today, tomorrow, next year, in 10 years' time. No. Because the geopolitics and the race for the arms business and economic development, all these things will continue to grow, sometimes exponentially. So therefore, national security cannot be neglected and cannot be just let it go, as the chief guest mentioned, even in a fraction of a second, it is very important. Otherwise, there won't be any growth. As a Secretary to the Education, in the present context, the role play by ensuring a secure environment for the student to go and sit the examination. They are not in a position to concentrate answering the questions if the place is not secure. So if we are not able to hold the exams and continue to postpone, then we cannot achieve and we cannot predict national growth. So in this context, the role play by the national security is to be commended as the Ministry of Education. I know personally the quick response to ensure the secure examination center for all of us, not only the future of the Sri Lanka, the parents, society. Under these conditions, even the COVID 33rd COVID, what do you call, the identification of the COVID origin in the recent past, you have to have a peace of mind to concentrate on everything. So that is basically, if you only think of one place, one center out of 2,646 examination centers, then there will be lack of security in a different center. So therefore, you have to think holistically. Only the one aspect of security in one place will not enable for us to continue this one, and therefore the results will come in future, these drawbacks in terms of national growth. So the range from concerns arising from threats to systems that allow society to control intergroup and interpersonal conflict to more recently reorganized concerns associated with threats to social and economic systems. Once these events start to influence the policy and economy of a country, if the national resilience levels are weak, that country will perish. One way of addressing this emerging situation is by promoting more and more research and development. KDU, boasting with diverse 9 faculties and 2 faculties once again diverse, one is criminal law, other one is technology, going to expand and provide opportunities and platforms for you to think, ponder in a military environment, and inviting day scholars, giving the signal that it is very important for you to mix each other, understand the role of the military or the security for the civilians, 22 million of people in this country, how important the national security and the training in a military setup to achieve the common goal, the national growth. So the KDU is at the forefront of researching the development and security related problems holistically. A holistic approach is needed to understand contemporary complex situations and circumstances. University education could inculcate core values of security and development, such as human dignity and integrity, democratic participation, sustainable development, economic equity, mutual understanding and respect, and equality of opportunity. The 3 flags or few flags that are behind brings all 3 forces together. Thanks to the KDA then, and how important this mutual understanding in the war helped to coordinate things in a better manner. Because you are trained together and you understand the security roles in the air, at sea, on land. I am sure it could have become a catalyst then. Now you bring the third aspects, the day scholars. So this is holistic thinking. Like I started at the beginning, It was not there. We had 3 academies, did not know each other. But how handy it came during the national security at risk. So ultimately, the beneficiary is national growth. The Honorable Minister, the Chief Guest, mentioned how difficult it was for Sri Lanka to attract foreign direct investment. As I think Minister of Enterprise Development, Foreign Minister, Foreign Secretary, if you don't have a secure trust, nobody would come. But when you train together, military with civilians in hand, it would provide an ideal platform. The importance of civil-military relations and how KDU is instrumental in developing the above-mentioned areas is to be commended. By promoting civil-military relations through education, a country could raise the resilience levels, like I mentioned, of communities. Honorable Secretary, Honorable Minister spoke at length, elaborated. You have to have a strong commitment and the political will to ensure security of this country. If these elements, instruments fail, first thing that is going to affect is the education of the future generations. Even for me, the Oxford graduate, Rhodes Scholar, I am a pupil. And this has provided opportunities. And it's the responsibility of the government to ensure security. So all spheres of activity will simultaneously grow, ultimately culminating in national growth. These are a few of the thoughts that I have to share with you. I would like to extend my gratitude on behalf of the Ministry of Education for having me and inviting me to deliver the keynote and set the platform for the next 2 days of deliberations. And I wish all the success in the deliberations and creating more networks and have future directions for years to come in this context of national security that you have chosen today. Whatever you are going to do, there is national security at the forefront. So divide, we lose, together we win, and I wish all the very best, and thank you very much for all the participants and the people who have submitted papers, presenters, moderators, session chairs. You are playing a very important role in this context of national security and the growth, national growth. Thank you very much.